Hey, Star Wars fans, welcome back to, believe it or not, chapter 69 of Rule the Galaxy. 69 episodes of Rule the Galaxy. We just hit our 10,000th download, so that's fabulous. Thank you. I know my mom might make up 9,000 of those downloads, but 10,000 is a pretty good number. So thank you for being a part of that. It's Joe in the pilot seat again tonight. Nick did a great job in the last episode with the Clone Wars Chronicles. And you know what? As always, as we start the show, reminder, you can follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter. You can email us at rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com, or now you can check us out on YouTube. We occasionally, as a matter of fact, right before the show, I just put up a 9-minute video of me just looking at toys and books. So if you want to go to YouTube, check out Rule the Galaxy and go have some fun with that. But we have a special guest to go along with some of our typical standard co-hosts tonight. We've got author Adam Bray in the house with us, but I'll just do some quick introductions around the room. I'll start with my good friend Ryan Mass. How are you tonight? Welcome back. It's been a while.
I'm good, Joe. Yeah, it has been a while. I'm super busy. Elliot's got stuff going on, all different kinds of sports, and I didn't feel well for a while, but yeah, I'm glad to be back.
And for those who haven't listened to us in a while, Elliot is not the character from ET. It is Ryan's son, Elliot. So, so yeah, and you know what? My kids are all grown and old, so I don't have to do that much in the evening with kids unless they really need me. But Ryan still keeps pretty busy. Elliot's 13?
14.
14. I always forget. But hey, busy time. So glad you're back. Nick Shesky, Nick, how you doing?
I will never be able to hear you say Elliot again without thinking of like, yeah, Elliot's busy. He's out freeing an alien in the backyard. You know, like I'm good, Joe. I'm glad to be on. Yes, that's amazing. I'm good. Little boy's doing well. We're gearing up to go to Florida next week, so life is good for the Sheskys, man. We're doing well.
Good for you. I'm not going to get another Florida trip under my belt for quite a while, so but good for you. Go enjoy that sun and the warmth. Everybody needs a little break every now and then. But hey, we'll go to our special guest, Adam Bray, Marvel and Star Wars author, wearing a beautiful Cara Dune t-shirt and showing off some of his Marvel and Star Wars books behind him. Adam, thanks for coming back. And how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm doing real good. It's springtime here in Michigan. The snow's almost gone, so I'm getting cabin fever, wanting to get out of here. So, well, everything's good.
As we discussed, we're just a few clicks down the road in Indianapolis from you there in Michigan. So whenever you're ready to make a road trip and us to do something fun in Star Wars or Marvel related, you just let us know. We'll put something together. And
sure.
And I found out that Scott Riffin's mother-in-law, I can't remember, lives here in Indianapolis. So he comes up here every now and then. So maybe we'll get Mr. Riffin to come up and meet when you're here as well. So
yeah, that'd be great.
Heck yeah. You guys, I love listening to you and him and Glosson all talk Star Wars. And I tell you what, I listened to you and Steve Glosson recently. You guys went knee deep into some characters, Marvel Legends toys and Star Wars characters. It was a great show and episode. So I love when you guys get together and do that.
Yeah, me too.
Steve will actually, I think, Steve's our guest next week. He'll be back to fill the airwaves one more time. So that'll be fun. But I'll tell you what, guys, I'll just get started. And Ryan's laughing. So either my sound is really bad or I have a booger hanging out of my nose. But
Kelly's making fun of me.
Oh gosh, significant others turn away. So I guess I'll just go around the room. I'll start. What did you guys, or in the last few weeks, anything you guys have done Star Wars wise, in your lives, in what you've bought or different things like that? One of the things that I did, I got this lovely Shore Trooper for Alfie. This is out waiting for Alfie to come pick up. So he'll be grabbing that soon. 2, I have been going back and doing when Disney announced the nostalgia stuff coming back on Disney Plus with Ewoks and Clone Wars. I found my 2 old 1979 kids books from Star Wars, which the artwork is so good, so cool. The Maverick Moon and the Mystery of the Rebellious Robot. And that took me down another deep hole where I took out my collection of all the Marvel 1977 through 1985. I've got some of the regular books in my collection and put away, but these trade paperbacks are so awesome to read through, and you don't really feel bad banging them around and actually reading them, increasing them and everything. But there are some great characters in these books that have been or will be, I think, be brought back into the Star Wars universe. There's just some great stuff in there. So that's what I've been doing. I've been keeping myself busy with that and a lot of work. Nick, I'll ask you, anything Star Wars related besides hosting your first podcast? Anything else Star Wars related?
I was going to say three things. One of them was the podcast and the Clone Wars Chronicles. We're filming another one in the next day or so here, which we're pumped about. But that, Joe, has been super fun sitting and rewatching episodes of the Clone Wars and taking notes this time.
Oh, yeah.
And the things that stick out to me that I totally, glossed over. I'm watching them with the subtitles on, making sure that I'm catching everything and spelling things correctly, which is really cool. So that's one. The second is I got so freaking sick and tired of seeing your cool setup every time that we do this podcast that I finally pulled the trigger and got the Revenge of the Jedi poster and the Jedi Fallen Order. I love the way that those two look. I think they're beautiful. I did buy those without the wife's knowledge or permission. And so when they showed up at the house, she goes, "What are those?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it." Led to some wonderful, wonderful conversations in our house. But they're up because I have an amazing wife that loves me very much. And then
awesome.
The only other one that we did, and this is something that I'm doing this weekend, which I'm pumped about. Joe, I've sent you pictures of the Star Wars collection I had from when I was a kid. It's all in storage still at my parents' house. But last week we took Graham, my son, down to the Children's Museum, and we were walking through there, and they're doing a whole exhibit right now of like pop culture and like nostalgia, and they have all these toys. It's actually really cool. I have pictures. I'll send them to you. But they had like this whole lineup of 1970s action figures from Star Wars, and I was looking through, and I went, you know what? I've got that one in storage. And I was looking at, it's a A-Wing pilot from way, way back in the day. And I went, I have that one in storage. I got to go dig it out and go find it. And I have that, what is it? The Ken Barbie doll, but it's not a Ken Barbie doll. So don't laugh at me. The Han Solo. It's not an action figure, 12 inch. Yeah. I saw that. So it rekindled some fire. I'm like, I got to get that for my kid and bring all that stuff back out.
That's awesome. Adam, how about you? Anything? You're putting your headphones back on. Sorry if I caught you midstream there. Anything?
That's all right.
Anything over the past week or two you've been doing Star Wars wise, or that's caught your attention, or anything like that?
Well, I do have some items coming from a friend of mine named Jamie. He's got a site where I think he just started selling retail commercially Star Wars stuff. I think he's got some Marvel things as well. I can't remember the name of his site, but he uses the hashtag Trade Federation.
Okay.
He's got a thing going with friends like me where we help each other get stuff, cheaply or at cost.
Right.
So he's been a great help for me, helping me out, getting me things that I can't find, or maybe I can't afford at the time. So he's sent. I don't have them yet, but they're on their way. One is that elusive Target Black Series. What do you call it? It's the Mandalorian Child. Din Djarin, the Target exclusive, that was nearly impossible to get, but he managed to get some. And the other one was the Walmart vintage collection, the same thing, Din Djarin and the Child. He got me some of those and some other things. So those are on the way. So that's cool. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Nick had a question for you, I think, real quick.
Yeah, I do. So Adam, you collect all this stuff. I'm curious for you, what's been the most and I'm trying to figure out how to say this right. What's been the purchase that you've made that stung when you first made it? Because you're like, man, that might have been too much money for that. And then you got it and you were like, no, it's awesome? Or did you go, man, I overpaid for this, and I'm just curious as a collector.
Well, when I look around the room where I've got most of this stuff, there are days where it's like, oh, I'm really glad I got those things. And there's other days where I can't believe I
Right.
spent thousands and thousands of dollars
Right.
on plastic. And I could have done a lot of other amazing things with that money. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship in that way. There's days I really appreciate it, and there's other days I kind of dread it.
Sure.
So yeah, there's a mix of that. I do have it's the coming is the what is it, the vintage collection Razor Crest. I guess that'll come out in November or December or something in the end
That
of
one
the
is
year.
pricey. That one is pricey.
Yeah, that I wasn't going to get it, but a friend of mine, kind of an acquaintance who I consider a friend, but I'm not. It's one of those sorts of people that I've met over social media. They just offered out of the blue, out of the kindness of their heart, to help fund that purchase, because I wasn't going to do it, and
Wow.
they kind of pushed me up over the over the amount so I could get it. I'd love to give credit to them. I don't know that they want to be
Sure.
known, so I might
Right.
make that known at a later date, because it was very very kind and generous of them. They just did it out of the blue. It was totally unexpected.
Wow.
But there are people like that out there in the Star Wars community. Of course, it's not limited to Star Wars, but there are a lot of great, kind people out there that just do things to be nice like that. But yeah, so that was one thing. And then speaking of people being nice, this was a while ago, but my friend Lorna Kaw, or it's Xenia. I'm going to get her name wrong. I'll just say Xenia. She goes by the pen name Lorna Kaw. She did the illustrations for that recent Clone Wars book. It's got Rex on the cover. I get it, but it's off in the
From a
cover.
certain point of view.
She's kind of been a popular fan artist of Star Wars stuff, especially of the clones. But so she sent me a while ago a bunch of her art prints. This was one of them from The Mandalorian here. I don't know.
Wow.
Gorgeous.
Zoom in even closer, but yeah, she's done so much great art. So I just wanted to show that off. She sent me a whole bunch of stuff I've been putting up around my office.
Well, remind me
So cool.
before we finish, or send me a DM and give me her contact info or
Sure.
Twitter account, and I'll post it up there so people can go check out some of her artwork. So
yeah,
well, that's awesome.
definitely.
That's awesome. Mass, how about you? Have you, I know you've been working a lot, chasing Elliot and not feeling well sometimes. Have you done anything Star Wars besides listen to our great podcast over the last few weeks?
The only thing that I did is I went to like the half price bookstores looking for, when I got married, I got rid of all my Star Wars books. So I went back looking for some of the extended unit, like the original Thrawn trilogy and stuff like that. And it was pretty unsuccessful, but I did find my Han Solo books. You remember the original, like the old Han Solo books?
Lost Legacy, Revenge, and Star's End?
Yeah, I found those.
So great.
I felt pretty happy about that.
Did you actually find yours, or were
Yes.
they?
Yeah, they
What?
they were in the garage.
Oh, I thought
you found a new copies.
Books.
Yeah.
No.
And yours were sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, we got bookshelves, and so we started putting in all the books, and I happened to find my Han Solo books, so I was pretty happy.
Those are great. Wow. Those are great. Mark Newbold said, still to this day, those are his favorite Star Wars books that he's ever read, were those 3 Han Solo books. So I'm sure some nostalgia has to do with it. I've got them sitting on my bookshelf, and they're fun. They're fun. And Ryan, that reminds me, the one thing I didn't mention was that I finished the Darth Plagueis novel. The first time I've ever read it, because I'd stayed clear of it, with the dark side, all that. But Nick and I have talked about it. We'll be doing a Lothal library on that coming up soon, because that's a great book. So much good detail in that book. So yeah, that's awesome. You found those. I'm glad you did. Now I'm going to take you more to the dark side, and you and I are going to go searching for more books, because that's a lot of fun. For Adam, we did have a question before the show from Bombad Brad. That's at Bombad Brad on Twitter. And I let him know you were going to be on the show, and he wanted to know from you, what is your favorite type of content to write about in the Star Wars reference books? Is it the people, the places, the events, inanimate objects, vehicles, etc.? What really gets your juices flowing when you're writing some of those things in the Star Wars reference books?
It's a good question. And, when I started writing, I thought it was going to be like the creatures and droids, because that was what I always liked as a kid. That was what drew me to Star Wars. But as I got writing, I found it's actually the locations, because especially when I've got, a word count where I can really get creative and build it out, because then I can get into all the subtle descriptions and the ambiance of the place, and maybe make stuff up a little bit, about the wildlife, the birds and the trees and what people are eating on the street, and a little bit about the culture and stuff, and get creative. So I've enjoyed that, especially in things like Ultimate Star Wars, where I can I've got a little bit of freedom to fill that stuff out.
Good. Go ahead, Nick.
All the stuff that guys like me, when we're writing fan fiction or searching Wikipedia, looking, all coming straight from you of the exact here's the stuff you didn't see in the movie, but all the different locations in the place and what their major export and import is and all that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Right.
Cool.
The details and the minutia are very key to a lot of people. So those scratch the itch of a lot of people. Well, that's good. I'm glad that's what you like to write about. That was a good question. Thank you, Bombad Brad. The next thing that popped up that I wanted to ask you about, because believe it or not, we're a little more than a month away. Bad Batch. What are some things you want to see in the Bad Batch on Disney Plus? Honestly, if it's a continuation of what we saw in season 7 of Clone Wars, I'm in for all of it. The characters I thought were a lot of fun. I don't feel like it has to get too serious. It can be fun and just another good story. But I am looking forward to seeing what happens with the chips in the heads of some of these guys, and how they rotate over to stormtroopers from clone troopers, if maybe they show some of that, pre-Order 66, post-Order 66. So, Nick, I'll start off with you. What are some things you're looking forward to seeing in the Bad Batch on April or May the 4th?
I'm excited to see. I feel like the gap that we got between the end of Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One, it's a substantial amount of time. And for me, like, you read, Dark Lords of the Sith, you read all these books that still take place earlier. You read some of the Marvel comics that they came out with later, and it's good. But I'm very curious. There's that one part in the trailer where you see Palpatine talking to all of the clone soldiers, and he's like, the Republic will be reorganized, all that stuff. I want to see like the actual mechanics of what that looks like for the clones. Like, okay, now, like what, and we may not get it, but I'm hoping that we get, like, throughout the galaxy, what does that actual turn look like in the few days after Revenge of the Sith? Because by the time you watch Solo, right, it's already like established. Like, they're already in, we've got bases on all these planets. We're liberating worlds still, but for the most part, we've got, a system and structure. I want to see, where's the backlash? How do the crime syndicates work within this? And so less of it. I know it's focused solely on the Bad Batch and these clones, but I'm hoping that they explore some of that as they go.
You got it. Mass, how about you? Anything Bad Batch? You finished the Clone Wars. You still haven't finished the Rebels yet, but You
No.
finished Clone Wars. So what do you want to see in Bad Batch, if anything?
I don't really have any expectations on what I want to see. I just, I thought they were just fun characters, and I'm just hoping for a good story.
Good.
Mass wants to see him toss some lightsabers. Just over the shoulder, just another lightsaber
Oh,
toss.
come
Oh
on.
yeah, that's the exact way to start it right there. It's the end
Okay.
of me.
We're gonna move. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna move forward. Adam, you probably written stories already that are related to what's going to happen in the Bad Batch. What are you looking forward to
Wow.
seeing in this series?
Well, I think basically this is Clone Wars season 8, and it's especially because these are a set of characters that are introduced in the last Clone Wars season 7. So I was gratified to see that, yeah, this is exactly the same animation style as the Clone Wars. They're obviously they're going to use some of the same assets, and just make now that we see what it is, it's rather obvious that this those last episodes in season 7, this is all the same thing. You could almost look at it as season 7 is just the prelude. It's the
True.
first part of the Bad Batch, really, because I'm sure they're using all the same employees, all the same pipeline, all the same resources, all the same everything. They probably stopped working on season 7 on a Friday and started on or even stopped working on it on a Wednesday, and on Thursday started they were probably it was probably at the same time, is what I'm saying. It's just it's exactly a continuation. So in that sense, I think they would be smart to do continuations of characters and storylines, and to do crossovers. So I would hope we're going to see stories continue of who knows how long of a lifetime this is supposed to have. I don't think they've given any indication whether this is a 1-season deal or a multi-season deal. I know they have I know they've already figured that out. They always go into these things knowing how many seasons they want to do. So yeah, I would, when you look at the Clone Wars, and they don't necessarily have to follow the same template, but the Clone Wars, the way George did it, was just kind of random hopping around. Oh, let's do this character. Oh, let's do that character. Oh, let's do that, that group next week. So there may or may not be some of that, but there's obviously, there's all those seasons of characters, and they could just pick one, and go with them every week. So I do want to see some of that, the various bounty hunters, what happened to them, the various Jedi, how did they meet their ends? I think we could very well, because here's another thing. They threw a lot in when they did the season 7. They threw some cameos in there that we weren't expecting. They gave us a cameo of little Kanan Jarrus in the background that I just remembered. So I would fully expect to see Kanan in the Bad Batch. Maybe just another cameo, but I'm sure we will see him. Absolutely, they're going to use those resources that they've made. I'm sure that's why they made them. Was to reuse them.
I agree, and I think some of the things, like we've all talked about, we knew that Clone Wars was supposed to be continuous, season 8, season whatever. I think the more I'm looking at it, they've thrown Fennec Shand out there. Who does she end up with later on? Boba, who was supposed to have some more storylines at the end of Clone Wars. Boba Fett. I think they might have sprinkled Fennec Shand on us to get us looking one way, and then they're going to see it and Boba and some of his gang are going to show up in there again. That's just throwing it out there,
Wow.
but I think it's a
Well,
possibility.
There's the other thing. I don't know. Did you guys see? I don't know. I guess spoiler alert. It leaked today. Well, supposedly it leaked. Who knows whether it's credible or not? The plans for these spin-offs and how they were intertwined, the live action, how they were intertwined with the Bad Batch, and
Cool.
how Gina Carano was going to have various crossovers within all the shows. That it was more than just Rangers of the Republic. She was supposedly going to be in the Boba Fett show as well. And that it tied them all together. Supposedly Boba Fett was going to have to look for the Bad Batch guys. I didn't get to read the full article because the Twitter app kept crashing, but I think I read about half of it. But so it was interesting. But so I think the crossover, if it's true, crossovers and continuity may go both ways. I think lots of people have speculated, are we going to see, the Bad Batch rescue Baby Yoda out of the Jedi Temple? And I think that definitely makes sense, especially if the next season we're not going to see Baby Yoda, or maybe we won't see him till the end of the season. Well, of course, Disney's going to want to keep Baby Yoda in the game. The last thing you want to do is pull your number one moneymaker that's been the number one focus of everything you've been doing on all, the most important thing on Disney Plus out of everything. You're not going to just yank Baby Yoda and get rid of him. So I would hope that they would have put him in the Bad Batch.
I agree. It's hard to take away the cash cow, man. Hard to take away the cash cow. With talking about the Bad Batch, another thing coming up that I don't know if everybody's looking forward to it or not, but we say there's different entry points and there's a different Star Wars for everybody. The Star Wars Visions, the anime series that's going to be coming out on Disney Plus, it was announced that there's a book called Ronin, I believe, Ronin, by Emma Miko Candon, that's going to be coming out on October 12th. We obviously have not been told anything about when Visions is coming out on Disney Plus, but does this make sense to say that this fall that book's going to come out and then perhaps that series is going to come out? And I've never really watched much anime, but this is Star Wars. I'm going to watch this. Any of you guys' thoughts on this? Mass, I'll start with you. Any interest in Star Wars Visions, which I believe is the anime series, and this book coming out October 12th? Do you watch anime? Have you ever watched that?
Oh, yeah, I watched it all. I used to watch it all the time. So yeah, I have some interest in that, but just from the name of it, Ronin, that's one of my favorite, like the 47 Ronin. It's one of my favorite stories. It was a great movie, foreign film. But and then there was another movie called Ronin that had
Is that Keanu Reeves?
It had De Niro in it.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, there is that's a newer movie. This one, like the one I like, is in black and white. It's an old one, but the one you're talking about, I saw that one too. It wasn't too bad. So yeah, I have a lot of interest in that. I'd watch it, no problem. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. Nick, did you ever check out much anime? And does this, again, anything with Star Wars on it, we've all talked about. We're going to watch it. It might not be a perfect fit for me, but I'll give it a try.
You know what?
Thoughts on this?
I have, and I got to tell you, out of all the shows that they're pitching, this one is one of the ones I'm most excited about. Maybe because I feel like I don't know a ton about it. And yet, like when I think back to some of my favorite Star Wars, like, I know we're going to talk about later, but like the original Clone Wars, I know that's not anime per se. You could argue, the 2003 Clone Wars that they came out with, or Avatar: The Last Airbender, or something. I love a different take on Star Wars and saying, hey, we're gonna push it in a different medium. push it in something that you haven't seen before. And I get excited about where they could go with the stories of what they're doing. There was a book that came out not too long ago. It was like Star Wars Tales, but it was essentially Adam, you may know the name of it, but it was like the mythology of Star Wars, and it was like all these different you know what I'm talking about? It was like essentially the premise of the book was like stories that people within the Star Wars universe would tell their kids
Were
when
they
they're
like
going to
bedtime
sleep.
stories? Yeah, I
Yes.
saw that, but I've
And
not read that.
It was very cool, and it jumped into all sorts of like very much like medieval knights, into dragons, into different kind of feels, and I loved it because it felt different. And I think that this could be a really cool one as well. I would love to see Star Wars in an anime just because the action would be incredible.
Adam, how about you? Much interest? Is this something that you follow much, or?
Personally, I don't know how much interest I have because I don't really know what it is. I don't watch a lot of anime, but I've bits and pieces growing up. The Robotech and Macross and all of that kind of thing. I liked when it used to be on TV, and various things over the years. So if it's good, I'll enjoy it. But what I don't know is this new material they're making, or are they just reinterpreting existing material as anime? Because that's what they've done with publishing for a number of years now in like Korea and China, is they've just reinterpreted existing stuff. I've seen some of the art, and what I've seen is really good. I don't know how much, if any of it, is available over here. I think it's meant for those overseas markets. So it'll depend on that. As far as the timing you mentioned, I know Disney does not like publishing to come out before the actual thing that it's based on. So if this book is very closely connected with whatever the Disney Plus series is, I would say they're going to come out together, whether they've announced that date or not. If it's kind of inspired by, but there's no real connection, then maybe not.
They're calling it an original novel. I just pulled it up just to look at it. And Del Rey did a separate tweet that said, just to be clear, this is not a novelization. This is an original novel. And to tell it, we're so thrilled to have a vibrant new voice in Emma Miko Camden. Yeah, so I'd be curious to see how that plays out.
Well, and I think it's either, Book of Boba Fett's coming out in December, I believe. So if you do October, that gives you 2 months of, if they do 8 episodes, you've got October and November of doing Visions, maybe rolls right into Boba Fett. I don't know, just throwing that out there. So look, again, you could throw anything out there, Star Wars, and I'm going to give it a shot. So one thing that really caught my attention, and I just, I have over the past few years purchased the Ewoks cartoons, the Droids cartoons, Clone Wars 1 and 2 from Genndy Tartakovsky. Those are all coming out on Disney Plus. It's been a while since we've seen all those. Mass, any interest in those? I mean, I really like that 2003 Tartakovsky short versions of the Clone Wars. Yes, the Ewoks movies were cheesy. Yes, the Ewoks and Droids cartoons were cheesy, but they are good nostalgia to go back and look at. That's the only Star Wars we had in the 80s for a long time. Are you going to check those out on Disney Plus, or any interest to you at all in any of those?
The Clone Wars, I have it somewhere. I bought it for Elliot when it first came out. I don't know. I may watch the Ewok things just so I know what you guys are talking about. But yeah, I don't know if I have any interest. I like the Ewoks in the movies. I mean, I never had a problem with them, but I don't know. But what Tartakovsky, is that what it was? Those were actually pretty good.
They were great.
I enjoyed those. Yeah.
And we've got Dirge from Tartakovsky's series coming out in a new Dr. Aphra comic book.
Oh,
So
no.
Dirge from that series is going to be back, which that was a great character. I had so much fun with that one. So, hey,
Who
we
was
got
done so dirty in the 2003 version, because I've been going back and rereading through the Legends Marvel comics where Dirge is in there, and they go to the moon that orbits Naboo where the Gungans have set up a settlement, and he is a bad stinking dude. And I'm hoping that they flush that out in the Dr. Aphra and that they somehow make him canon at some point. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe
Oh,
not.
he is coming. He's canon. I mean,
No, I
is
know, but what
canon.
I'm saying is, like, I want to see him visually again,
Yes.
because in the there's an issue of that comic. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna send it to you, Joe, because it was one of the cool. It's an Obi-Wan solo mission where he pairs up with 5 kind of gray Jedi who all, are just kind of out there, and Obi-Wan gets sent on a mission to go to a droid factory, and all of a sudden they just show up and they're with him, and Dirge shows up and wipes out every single one of them and almost kills Obi-Wan too. It's intense.
Okay. Well, hey, we have a surprise co-host. Looks like things have settled down at the Alfie house. Alfie, how are you? And you know what? We were just talking about the vintage Star Wars, whether it be Ewoks, Clone Wars, what have you, that are coming back on Disney Plus. So first, how are you? And then 2, what were your thoughts? And will you watch those new things coming out on Disney Plus in April?
Yeah, I'm doing good tonight. Glad I could drop in here for a bit. And of course, I'm going to be watching that stuff without a doubt.
I have a feeling your daughter is going to love the Ewoks movies and cartoon series.
We actually watched the trailers for those on YouTube. That's in the daily playlist of Star Wars videos that we watch. So yeah, we will be watching the Ewok movies.
For all the younger folks, yeah, even younger than Nick, our good friend Nick here, just thinking about the character Sindel, the little girl with the blonde curly hair, and then Wilford Brimley being in the Ewoks movies. Yeah, Wilford Brimley. He's selling oatmeal and he's in the Ewoks. So come on, that's pretty cool. So good old Adam, what are your thoughts going back to that retro, that nostalgia? Yes, like I said, some of them are corny, all that, but are you going to be checking out the Ewoks, the Clone Wars, things like that? And one other one I forgot to mention was the Boba Fett animated cartoon from the 1978 holiday special, which is going to be released.
What?
Yes.
They're putting that on there?
Yes, they are.
Wow.
So, Adam, what are your thoughts? Oh, you're on mute, Adam.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Okay. The funny thing in all this is I've already got all this material.
I know.
So that's the funny thing, because I've got I got the 2 Ewok adventures on DVD when they came out, because of course I had to. I grew up with those. Those are more Star Wars than Star Wars. So in many ways. So yeah, I've got those. I've got the Tartakovsky on DVD, because those came out. I think it's a 2 DVD set, or maybe 2 separate. I can't remember.
Yep.
And the holiday special that's been on. You've been able to download it one way or another, or watch it on YouTube for a while. I've got the Ewoks and the droids. I think they came out on a single. Or maybe it's a 2-disc set, I don't remember, but those never had all the episodes. They had just like a small selection.
They did. I will tell you, I did some digging, and yes, I found bootleg versions. I have all 2 seasons of the Ewoks and the full season of the droids, and there's some corny stuff in there, but there's also some real fun stuff as well.
The funny thing with the cartoons, I remember when they originally aired on TV, I wanted to love them so bad. I really wanted to. And at the time, the droids, I couldn't get into. There was an episode or 2 that intrigued me, but for the most part, I really I hate to say I hated it, and I didn't watch it all.
Yeah.
As much as, Star Wars was my life, it's just I couldn't get into it. The Ewoks, though, I loved Return of the Jedi, still my favorite movie. I loved the Ewok movies as a kid, but the Ewok cartoon was really rough sometimes because it was so corny. It was. I don't remember. I might have been. I don't remember what years they came out. I'm guessing I was probably
85, 86, I think.
Okay, yeah. So I was 10 and 11, and some of those episodes, they were clearly hitting for kids younger than that. I remember there's like a mountain that cries or something. That's it was for little kids, but it was a mix. There were some episodes that were really good, that really hit for older kids. I think there was one episode with stormtroopers, and did Boba Fett even show up in one? I don't remember. I know they were.
I thought he did in I thought he was like a flash in Droids, but I'm not sure on
Yeah,
Ewoks.
it's like a cameo in Droids.
Yeah,
but there were at least Imperials, I remember, in one episode of the Ewoks. They came to Endor, but it was a mix of good stuff and bad stuff.
You know what's funny is the characters, the action figures that they made from Droids and Ewoks are so super expensive right now because no one bought them.
Oh,
and the people who
ridiculous.
did keep them on cards, I knew a gentleman, I think there was a character called Vlix in the Droids cartoon that's going for $30,000-$40,000 on a card right now.
Shut your mouth.
I'm not kidding. Yeah, and there was there was like a Bilo Ren or a Kylo Ben character who was a bad guy. Seriously, it was one letter off of Kylo Ren. So yeah, anyway, I don't know. I cut you off, Adam.
Oh no, that's all right. But yeah, even the figures, because I was a completist back then, but when it came to the figures for the cartoons, some of them were good. Some of them were still pretty close to the style, like the Jan Tosh and the Kezibon, the purple alien. I got those because they fit in pretty good with the other Kenner figures. And the Dulocs, there were 3 or 4 of them. Those were actually pretty good figures for the technology back then. They were very highly detailed, especially the chief guy. He was a pretty cool figure, pretty detailed, a lot of color to him. So they were kind of neat, but some of the other characters, they were just so cartoony and so unlike the other Kenner figures. I just didn't bother with them.
I think
kicking myself.
I think even R2 and C-3PO just looked terrible in the droid.
Yeah,
setup.
They did. They looked really bad. I think even R2 might have been the mold of the regular R2, but he was just painted in such an awful way. It was really objectionable. So I never got a complete collection. Several years ago, 4 or 5, maybe 5 years ago, I did buy a few. I kind of rebuilt because I'd sold all my collection as a kid, unfortunately, when I went to college. I rebought.
Same thing.
I rebought all the ones that I used to have, but they just some of the more rare ones, like you said, they're just so expensive. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get all of them.
It's those are lottery picks right there. Nick, it's funny because like Mass and Adam and Alfie and I were all old enough to actually see the Ewok movies and then see the Droid and Ewok cartoons. And yes, we'll all admit that they probably weren't made for us, but you're 27, 28, right?
27, yeah.
So I mean, you obviously weren't even around when those came out. Have you gotten a chance to go back and watch any of those?
You know what? I haven't seen any one of them. I've seen really horrible gifts from them in some capacity. But hey, I've got a little boy in the house. We'll sit him down. We'll turn it on. He may be mesmerized by it. He may love it. And for me, you said it earlier in the show, but if it's Star Wars, it's Star Wars. So turn it on. I'll watch it.
There we go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll be checking that, especially the 2003
yes
Clone Wars.
That's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Man, we
It
referenced that
is,
probably
yeah.
6 times on the Clone Wars Chronicles, and just how even in the Clone Wars they went back and they paid tribute to some of the things that happened within it. Very cool.
Yeah.
It's a
The
great one. Go ahead,
The
Adam.
Tartakovsky stuff, the Clone Wars cartoons, it's really good. And keeping in mind that those were shorts,
Yeah.
they weren't even a half hour. It wasn't a
No,
half hour show.
10,
They're
15
like
minutes,
6
right?
If that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
some of them are even
Yeah.
like 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah, it's incredible, the both the storytelling and the quality of the animation that they did for little shorts. It's really impressive. And where you see that a lot of things Dave Filoni did was taken bits and pieces piecemeal, and things since then it's been robbed and pillaged, just like the Ewok movies have been robbed and pillaged
Yes.
for their content. And that's going to be an interesting thing, is how much of this is canon, because so much has been taken from those Ewok movies piecemeal, that they already might as well be canon.
Yeah.
And also, as I had said on Twitter, Lucasfilm kind of had this attitude for a while now that canon is what is available. If they didn't make
Mhm.
the video material available because it wasn't canon. So, but now, is that true anymore or not? What is canon, what isn't? I'm surprised we don't have an official restatement of the rules yet.
Well, I tell you what, if Lucasfilm wants to make a lot of money, which I think they do, there was a clone troop, and Nick, you probably know the name, or Alfie, you know the name, that was the lead clone troopers in, like, we have the 501st and the 332nd and all that. There was one troop that was led in the Clone Wars Tartakovsky, that you could remake those right now and they
Yeah.
would sell like hotcakes. They would be
On-
the most. What
On Munilist.
was that where they were?
It's the planet, but that was where we first got the term ARC troopers.
Okay.
And that's what it was, because they were the advanced recon clones.
And they
so
didn't talk the whole thing, did they? It was all
the
hand
whole
gestures.
time. Yep. And they're doing the army,
Yes.
signaling each other. Fantastic.
Yep. I agree. So Mass brought this up. Mass, it was a good question. A person's age and when they get into Star Wars and how old they are, how it seems to affect what kind of Star Wars you like. I want you to kind of ask it the way I'm just butchering the question right now, but what you thought of that question. I liked it. What do you think when it comes to that? And ask it the right way so I don't destroy it, so we can all answer it. But what were you going with that question right there? I liked it. So let's nail that one.
Well, just everybody has, if you go through, like, Nick loves, the prequels. And that's when he was a little kid. We're original trilogy guys. That's when we were little kids. But I think that has some effect on the way you like your Star Wars, because the original trilogy for me is it. And so, like, when the physical comedy of Jar Jar Binks just makes me want to cringe. It just but the prequels, they're not bad movies. But they're not. It's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like Indiana basketball. We're all from Indiana.
Oh.
But when I was a kid, Indiana won a first championship. When I was a little bit older, they won another one. By the time I was a freshman in high school, they had won 3. And so for the rest of my life, that's how I expect Indiana basketball to be. I don't expect them to win all the time, but I expect them to be good all the time. And that's how I expect Star Wars to be. I expect, those first 3 movies came out in about the same time period. And that's, and they were all great to me. And that's how I expect all my Star Wars movies to be like. So the Jar Jar Binks character, to me, didn't make the grade. It's like a bad IU team.
Jeez.
So I was wondering if it's like that for everybody. I mean, for Nick, I mean, do you expect a little Jar Jar Binks in all your movies, or does it matter to you? I mean, is that
I love how Nick has become
what you see
synonymous
originally?
with Jar Jar Binks. Thank you for labeling me with that wonderful.
You're welcome.
No, I'm kidding. No, I know what you're saying. I'm curious. I think you're right. I think everybody has their own. We've talked about this on the show before. I think it was with T-Bob, where we talked about the idea of like everybody has this picture of what Star Wars is supposed to be. And so when you have unmet expectations, that's where you get, honestly, I think that's where you get some of the toxicity that we see all throughout, because it doesn't fit my expectation of what it's supposed to be like. When I would say, I was born post original trilogy. I was in middle school when prequels came out, was in college when sequels came out, and I can appreciate each of them for what they have. They each have like things that I would go like, hey, that doesn't do anything for me, right? Like when George Lucas went back and remastered the original trilogy and added in the extended Jabba's palace scene, right? And you've got, and that's not what you like, right? And I had both cassette tapes, right, when I was growing up, and I was like, you know what? I like that one better than I like this one, with all this animated and the singing and all kind of like, I don't feel like we need that. But I'm sure there's somebody else that was watching that was the same age as me that didn't have both those cassette tapes, and to them that's gospel truth of like, this is Star Wars and what it looks like. And same with I watched Star Wars. I made my wife watch through Star Wars with me the first time after we got married, and she loved Jar Jar Binks. And I cringed when she was like, he is so funny. I was like, Abs, come on. Like, you're not allowed to repeat that outside of this house, or you're going to get, people are going to question our credibility. She watches Anakin Skywalker, and she's like, he's so cute. And I was like, nope. See, this is what people have a hard time with. But for her, that was her first experience. And she's like, that's what I like. And that's where I'm at. So basically, yes, I agree with you. Everybody has their own interpretation of what they like. The problem is when we're not able to enjoy something for what it is that's not necessarily ours, even if we deem it as missing the mark, because then it turns into, well, then we're fine. We're just not going to make Star Wars anymore.
I'm going to hop in on this one because I see it, because I put way too much time in on Twitter, because I'm just trying to promote the podcast and get into communication with other people in the Star Wars community. I see so many people who will do things like, and it's been out there, and I've heard different podcast hosts talk about it, to where, okay, I'm of the older generation. Okay, I'll admit that. I know I'm an old guy. I've got kids who are grown up and married. I get it. But when I see younger fans who will talk about the sequels and say, and I think Nick, you brought it up before, this wasn't made for you. This was made for us, and this is our Star Wars. Well, I get it. It's all Star Wars. I mean, so whether I really liked it or I just said, okay, this is kind of okay because it's part of Star Wars, it's not time to bash on certain people, because Mass is an original trilogy guy. So why are people who are sequel trilogy fans saying, get out of here, we don't need you, you're the old guy in the room, we don't need you around it? Well, if it wasn't for the old guys in the room, there wouldn't be a new Star Wars, right? I mean, if there wasn't guys like us spending our discretionary income on figures and posters and everything else surrounding me. But I think you're right, Nick. It comes down to figuring out what we love, what we like, and not bashing on the people for what they like. If each person can have their own vision of Star Wars, and I think that's the healthiest way to do it, is just let the people who, maybe there's somebody who says the Ewok movies are my favorite thing of Star Wars, and that's great. That's your thing. Go do it, because it's part of Star Wars, and I'm not going to bash you for it. But don't turn around and say, well, your version of Star Wars isn't as good because this is my version. I mean, that's just not healthy. So I'll be off my soapbox. Alfie, any thoughts? And then we'll finish up with Adam.
I get it, because we are original trilogy guys. And so it is hard to compare the other trilogies. to the original trilogy. And I think for us, that kind of takes away from the experience of the prequels, because for myself, I know just from the get-go in the Phantom Menace, I wanted to be at the end to where it connected back,
Yes.
to the original trilogy. Seeing the sequel trilogy, I always, think I would have liked to know more of the original trilogy character stories in between the time frame of the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. So it kind of pulls you away from that story because you're wondering how it all fits together, and
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. It's all Star Wars. If you like it, you like it. There's no reason to be hateful about it or to exclude other groups. I think the Last Jedi episode we did with T-Bob, that was probably one of the most fun episodes that we've done. There wasn't any toxicity there, no hate or anything. It was just a good time.
Yep. I think also, Alfie, what do you think? You were able to grow up, you were able to watch the sequel trilogy with your son at a good age for him to watch that. I was able to watch the prequel trilogy with my son. So it made me closer and bonded to that trilogy to where I didn't feel as distant, like
Yes,
Mass,
a lot more.
Mass, you're like, hey, I'm a 20 whatever year old guy going to watch the prequels. This is not what I grew up with. But for me, I was watching it through Joey's eyes. Joey was 6 watching the Phantom Menace, and I was going, man, he loves this. This is so cool for him to have this experience, So, and
driving home from the Force Awakens, all he could talk about was Kylo Ren. I want to know more about Kylo Ren. Want to know about Rey. Want to know where the lightsaber came from. So it just created an instant bond, with that trilogy. I may not have liked it as much, but I enjoyed it a lot more being able to share it with my children.
Good. Adam, what about you? I mean, you're a little bit younger than me, Alfie, and Mass, I think. So you came in at the tail end of the original trilogy. But do you see that as well? Like, do you have something? Go ahead, Mass.
So, Adam, was Return of the Jedi the first one that you saw? You said it's your favorite movie.
No, I was born in '75, so I saw the Star Wars in a drive-in theater. I actually remember it in bits and pieces, but I was quite young. So I saw them all in theaters. So natural, that's my Star Wars, and that's kind of the ideal that everything has to match up to be Star Wars. But something that that I wonder is with the sequel trilogy now. Is this what the young generation, that are kids now, do they identify this as their Star Wars, or are they just as happy with any Star Wars movie because they've got so much to pick from? I don't know. I don't know if we even know. It may take a few years for this to settle in to see whether it creates a lasting cultural phenomenon, because we have a different culture. When we were kids, movies had staying power. They were in your consciousness for years following. Here now we're in a disposable culture now. Everything is streaming. It's instant demand, and as soon as you're done, you've forgotten about it and you move on to the next thing. And for that reason, I'm skeptical that any of the new Star Wars movies have any long-lasting cultural staying power. Corporations, Disney can say they do, but that doesn't mean they do. You're not going to know until several years from now. So that's something I wonder about, because I don't have kids. I've just got some nieces, and I watched The Force Awakens with them, and I saw that they really enjoyed it, and it was fun to see it through their eyes. And I realized, yeah, this is a fun movie. I haven't watched the other two with them, and I don't think I've watched any other Star Wars movies. So I know they enjoyed the first one, Force Awakens, but I don't know how it rates to other Star Wars movies or anything else that they are watching. I don't know if any of it sticks.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. I mean, with the phones, the tablets, with streaming, you're right. Everything just buzzes through so quick. We just like when I was showing these, this is what got me through 3 years from
Yeah.
Star Wars to Empire Strikes Back. These comic books. So when I couldn't have it on VHS or Betamax or whatever,
Mhm.
I had to live through this and the memories and the toys to
Yeah.
keep me going until the next movie.
Yeah.
Now it's
Topps trading cards.
Yeah.
That's why the trading cards were such a big deal back then, because
Yes.
we didn't have even VHS tapes. We relived the movie through the trading cards. You know, now I look at them, this is just a piece of cardboard, a piece of paper. What good is it?
You know, there's probably
But
people
they were
listening.
everything.
There's probably people who are going to listen in the next week of this show, and they're going to be Nick's age or younger and go, "Why are we listening to these old guys again? They're talking about cardboard VHS all the time. Why do they do that?" Anyway, Alfie, go ahead.
I agree with Adam on the staying power, because personally, and this is with no hate, no toxicity or anything, after watching The Rise of Skywalker, I kind of thought that Star Wars was done for me. That, yeah, whatever comes out, I'm going to watch it. I'll probably enjoy it, but I'm never going to get that feeling of the original trilogy. And then Mando came.
Yeah.
And that completely sucked me back in 100%.
Right.
Mass too. Mass right then told me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm hoping Obi-Wan is as good as like we've enjoyed Mandalorian, because
Yeah.
I'll lose my
Ewan
mind.
McGregor will be a part of it. How can it not be good?
Right. Yeah.
I agree.
The Mandalorian definitely has far more staying power than The Rise of Skywalker did.
I agree.
That movie was only in people's minds for a few months. It was only marketed for a few months, and then it was gone. It was like people forgot about it. It was like Lucasfilm forgot about it.
Didn't they come out with the DVD like 2 months after it came out?
Yeah, it was pretty quick. And the marketing for the DVD was in and out. None of that lasted. It was really surprising to see just how it was in and out. And the merchandise, there were only just a couple of waves of Black Series figures, and that was it. There was no continue. They moved on to figures from different eras. That was surprising.
That's the one that gets me. No lightsaber.
Yeah.
Brand new lightsaber.
Right. You should have that yellow one.
Can't buy it anywhere.
No, you should have that yellow one out there everywhere right now. I agree. Mass, were you going to say something? I was just jumping around. I thought you were going to say something. No? Okay.
I was.
Oh, Alfie.
Okay.
I agree with you again, Adam, because in all honesty, and I enjoyed the movie, seeing it.
Yeah,
but The Rise of Skywalker was the first Star Wars movie that I've seen where I left the theater and really had no ideas of what happens next. It was just over. And
I still feel that way. So I don't know. Maybe it has staying power because I walked out of the theater going, well, where the heck do we go from here now? Like, what do we?
Yes, but see, my point is, I didn't even have that thought. I just thought it was over. You know, it's done. It's over. No desire for where does it go now?
Well, since we're all talking about that, one of the things we just had the Zack Snyder, right? Zack Snyder extended release of the Justice League. Now, I've already admitted that I did not care for the 2017. I watched it. It was just okay. It didn't draw me in. I like the Marvel movies much better. But with having that extended cut and people raving about it, even Nick has said how great it was, 4 hours. Is there a Star Wars movie that, if given the opportunity, you'd want to see redone into a 4-hour, put all the scenes in, put all the stuff in that we think we're missing, the deleted scenes, all that. It can be any of them. I know we're talking 77 through 2019. Is there a movie, Adam, I'll start with you. Is there a movie where you'd say, extend it, put more stuff in that we were missing and make it 3-4 hours long in Star Wars?
That's a hard one to answer. Because naturally, being an original trilogy kid, I want to see any material George Lucas had left on the table. I kind of feel like we've probably seen all there is, but then maybe we haven't. You know, you never know. So there's that. There's a movie, there's like Rogue One. It's been well talked about that he could have probably made, that he could have made several different movies. I think it was what's his name that played director Krennic. He actually said there was probably about a dozen different movies there, because he would keep having them redo. They do the same scene over and over and over again, but with a different intent, a different angle on the personality or the dialogue. Do it a completely different way. And he said there's probably a dozen different movies, and we know that Disney made him basically redo the movie, because supposedly he started out doing what they asked, doing a war movie, and then they decided once he'd done that that wasn't what they wanted, so they kind of redid it. So whether, I guess the question is, can you put any of that back together, or would it be just a hodgepodge of unrelated scenes? Would it make any sense? I don't know, but there's rumors that Rise of Skywalker, that JJ cut out a tremendous amount from that movie. So that, even though it's maybe not I think it's probably the best of the trilogy. Whether it's I think there are better recent movies. I like Rogue One and Solo better, but I think that might be the most promising one as far as doing an extended cut, as what interesting things we might see.
You know what, this is probably going to sound sacrilegious from me, but if they could make extended cuts of The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, and add in some of the things that we've all talked about, some more backstory, some more depth, some more things explaining why Luke's the way he is, making, if you're going to encapsulate and end everything of the Skywalker saga with The Rise of Skywalker, put in all the things needed to end the saga.
Yeah,
I would say this. I could go for a 3-hour version of each of those 3 movies if they added in more depth to each one of them. Honestly, it's hard for me to say change the original trilogy. Yes, we've seen all the deleted scenes, all those kind of things. You could add them in. They could be fun to add in the big scene at the beginning of New Hope with Luke or whatever. There are probably a few scenes of the prequels that might be fun, but I like those movies kind of like how they are. And the Clone Wars really made the prequels what they needed to be, in my opinion. So I will vote for any of the 3 sequels, if not all 3 of them, to be extended and put in everything that we need to make us go, now, for the original trilogy guy, now this makes sense to me. So I'll throw that out there. Alfie, I'll go to you next.
I think the only one is Rogue One that I would like to see more of a movie. But like Adam said, I don't know that it would make any sense. But are we just talking putting deleted scenes back in, or are we doing the Zack Snyder $80 million reshoot of an existing film?
Well, I think Zack Snyder version. Yeah.
I could take a longer cut of Rogue One.
Okay. All right. Nick, how about you?
So I have 2 answers to this based off of watching Justice League the new one that they just put out, the Snyder Cut, because I feel like he accomplished, which by the way, it's dope. If you haven't watched it, go watch. It's amazing. But
Where did you watch it?
HBO Max.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have that. The two things that he accomplished was we made it longer and we added more scenes, and we also fixed things from the 2017 that were off. So like, I know this is not a DC podcast, but like even from like adding more scenes to even going back and aesthetically fixing scenes that he didn't like. So like the final battle in that movie is all like red, like that there's red hue and tint. In the Snyder Cut, it doesn't look that way, and it looks gorgeous, right? Like he even fixed that. So I would say, based on those two answers, if you're looking at a sheer, hey, we are going back and we're doing the $80 million reshoot, you know, for either one, I would like to see Solo and Rise of Skywalker with the original directors that they had on, only because it's the same thing, right? Like it's two directors or two movies that had different directors or stories that got yanked at some point, and then we rewrote, we figured out, no, show me how you were originally planning to do it. And then my second answer is, if you were going to take one of the movies that we already have that we love and then expand upon them and add in more scenes in any capacity, I would want to see Revenge of the Sith. And I want to see more. I want to see more get drawn out in the third act of that. Or
Order
like
66, that part of
yeah,
stuff?
you know, like Order 66.
I left that one for you, Nick.
Thank you. You teed it up so perfectly. I want to see more of Order 66. I want to see more
Dark Side Anakin.
I want to see more Palpatine. You know, kind of what we talked about already with the Bad Batch. And I want him to fix the stinking end of that movie. I'm passionate about it. And instead of having nobody, Owen Lars, walk out and do the Luke staring at the thing, I want them to turn the camera around and show Obi-Wan riding off, not into the sunset, riding off into the dark. And the movie ends in silence.
Well,
That's what I want to
I
see.
like that.
Kind of like the end of Justice League, where all of a sudden he throws you this weird twist.
Hey,
I won't spoil it. But if you're on Twitter at all, you've seen it already. So like, that's the thing. Like you know.
Okay. All right. I like those answers. Mass, how about you?
Well, you know what?
Would it be Landon Turner or Isaiah Thomas in the? Oh, I'm sorry. That's IU reference again. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it would be the Last Jedi, because I would really like to see, you know, what made Luke into the person that he became. I think that's just incredibly important as to where that story went. But I really like the Revenge of the Sith one, because I didn't like Revenge of the Sith, and it was because, you know, all of a sudden he just goes dark like that, and it's not really explained well enough for me. So if they could do that again and draw that out and show him more of how he became, how he went to the dark side, I would really enjoy that. So yeah, I'd like to do both of those if we could. So
Okay.
I only need $160 million, and I can
Let's get a Kickstarter going. See what we can get.
Yes.
See what we can get.
GoFundMe.
go find me.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to do a GoFundMe just to buy Mass a Millennium Falcon to make him feel he's been wanting a Millennium Falcon for so long. I wanted to buy him the original 78 version, but I don't know. If we had enough Twitter followers, maybe we could get that started. Adam, so those were all great answers. I love them. I think it was great. Adam, you've brought up before on shows and then also on Twitter talking about a Star Wars multiverse. And I think I've got a good grasp of where you're going with that. But one, explain a little bit more where you see that going or possibly going. And then two, give me your thoughts if you think it's going to go that way. And then we'll all kind of bounce around and talk about a possible Star Wars multiverse, because I know Nick's talked about an A-team and Alfie's talked about an A-team version or a Marvel Comics version, MCU version of what's going on with Mandalorian and all that. So give me your thoughts on what you see as a possible Star Wars multiverse.
Yeah, I don't know if it's anything too complex, but there's been a lot of upset fans ever since they announced that they were going to wipe away the EU and turn that into Legends. And it always, on the one hand, it made sense where they wanted room to tell their own new stories and for Disney to make money off that in a gazillion ways. And if you're going to do that, it does help to put the focus on the new material if that's all there is anymore. But on the other hand, Marvel's always had a multiverse and they've done it really well, and the fans aren't confused. They're smart enough to know what's what. So it didn't entirely make sense to me for them to just sideline everything. I saw there's no reason they can't keep doing EU books. And I think the first crack in the door was when Marvel did that one episode continuation of the original line, which I haven't even read. But that showed that the door is open for that. And they've done things like these new figures, Black Series figures that they're coming out with the Jackson. And
Jackson, baby.
the other Royal Guard guy that they screwed the name up on, the Luke. But they've done a few handful of other EU figures recently. The Revan, 2 versions of him, and the Jaina Solo a couple years ago, and they've got that Old Republic multiplayer game. I guess it's still going, but I haven't played it in years. So they clearly can do it. And I think it's just a matter of time. There's certainly a demand for it.
So looking at it, obviously, again, I'll bring these handy dandy notebooks out. I grew up on this. That, to me, for 7 or 8 years, this was Star Wars when I wasn't watching the movies, right? So, for example, right now, and I just did the whole run of the MCU movies, went through every single one of them, buzzed through them, and then watched WandaVision. So I was like, yes, I'm all caught up. And now, of course, Winter Soldier and Falcon, I've got to go start watching that one. But so kind of in the multiverse you're looking at is they still come out with a monthly comic that has nothing to do with this major line that Disney is showing out there, right? And you're saying basically whether it's books, comics, toys, they could make a whole run going on like that while still pumping out the movies or the Disney Plus shows.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Alfie.
Well, I may be wrong on this or mistaken, but doesn't Marvel have different actual realities as far as the multiverse goes? Aren't there different like Earths that go with different storylines? So,
well, Mysterio in the recent Spider-Man was talking about how he's in a different dimension right now. I mean, that was the story was he came from this dimension of Earth. Spider-Man's in this dimension of Earth. So, I mean, I know they've got that even going in the movies.
He was blowing smoke.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it was a good storyline because I'm like, holy crap. I was like, that's a lot to take in. But go ahead, Alfie.
Yeah, because I think the Doctor Strange movie is going to deal with that, the alternate realities. Because I've read rumors that there's going to be a new version of the original Avengers. Like he'll visit a different New York City and see the original Avengers, but they're different people because they're in a different, timeline.
Look, if they're never going to bring out Mara Jade into the canon, they could still put a 6-inch Black Series of Mara Jade out right now, and I'd go buy it.
Yeah.
So
tomorrow,
I mean, I'm ready. If they're gonna want to follow that, I'm perfectly okay with it. I mean, bring out all the toys, the books, and the comics. I don't need a whole movie of it. Let's just follow some of those storylines. You're right. We're smart enough to know what's what, right? I mean, I just spent 3 days looking through these 1977 through 85 comics. It didn't confuse me on what went on in the movies that I've watched. So Nick, Mass, any thoughts on this at all?
It's like
I'm
Plagueis.
confused.
What's
Oh,
that?
sorry, I cut you off, Ness.
No, I was just kidding. I said I'm confused. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, no, I agree. It's like Joe, you just finished reading Plagueis.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is like that doesn't, you're smart enough to know, hey, this is Legends. And while this may not affect the movies, this at least gives me some background into what was going on and something that I can like in my head canon look at and go, here's where. So I'm with you. Part of me goes like less about I like the merchandising thing, but for me, I'm like, why can't we bring in different voices? And Disney, which is all about bringing in different voices, right? Why can't we bring in different voices to write these expanded universe stories that I'm fine. Mark them as Legends. Like, that's okay. I'm still going to go read them because they're cool. And as long as they don't go too far off the rails and we get an alien species that shows up from another galaxy, then I'll be fine.
And it just occurred to me, we've got the whole world within or world between worlds thing from Rebels.
Right.
And it occurs to me, I don't know why I never thought about it, but that's probably based on the C.S. Lewis book, The Magician's Nephew, because there's a very similar way. I haven't read it since I was a kid, but the nephew and I think his companion, they go in and they find this forest area with all the pools. Yeah, the pools, and those you can jump in them and go to different times and places in Narnia and maybe other worlds as well. It's really the same scenario. And Dave, he knows Tolkien. I'm sure he knows C.S. Lewis, so he probably got it from that as well. But that's a way you could connect the various multiverses of Star Wars. I'm not necessarily advocating that. I think the world within worlds was good for a one-time deal as kind of a mind blower, the mythology behind the mythology, kind of like a Mortis thing. We do it and we're not going to go back to it again.
Right.
So yeah, but that is one way they could connect it.
When I originally heard you talking about the multiverse, my mind went directly to all those great Twitter rumors where, Filoni and Favreau are going to bypass the sequels, and Disney wants to let this new storyline lead into a new post original trilogy kind of sequel or whatever. And the more I've looked at that, the more I think about, I think they do. It's hard for me to say it, but I think they do have a plan. I mean, I think they have a plan, because you look at the Mandalorian where we see the clones being done up, right? And getting the blood and the M count from Grogu and leading that direction, and getting Thrawn back involved, and having his, what was his fleet's number that was on those protectors when Ahsoka went to visit the magistrate and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think we might not believe it right now. We might have a hard time seeing it, but I think over the next 4 or 5 years, there's a good chance that they're going to connect what we saw of Luke with that green lightsaber at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian all the way to Snoke and Kylo Ren at the beginning of The Force Awakens. I think it's hard, it's hard to see it right now, but I do think it's out there. I don't think they're going to bypass. I think Disney's entrenched, and they've said, this is what we've done. We're going to figure out a way behind the scenes to connect it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you guys see it the same way, or am I?
Yeah, I look at it as the same as the Clone Wars series that really just made, brought so much more to the prequels, really built that story up. So that's the way I look at it. It's, if anything, they're just going to fill in those gaps in the sequel trilogy. It may go somewhere else on the side of the galaxy, but at the same time, it's going to keep butting up against the sequel trilogy story to fill in those plot fillers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Disney's made their decision. They're entrenched. They've built a whole theme park around their new Star Wars. They're not going to do that and then erase it. It doesn't make any sense. So for all the wishful thinking about the sequel trilogy being overwritten, I think that's pie in the sky. It's never going to happen. And Dave's not the kind. I don't know Jon Favreau's thinking as well, but I know Dave's not the kind of guy that would do that. If anything, he's going to build the connections. As you said, Alfie, Dave Filoni's going to make the sequel trilogy a better trilogy by how he builds these series, just like he made the prequels better.
No, 100%.
In some ways I hesitate to say this because in some ways I don't believe you can make a movie better. It is what it is when it came out. But on the other hand, I know what people mean when they say it. It made them fuller because it connected them and it gave them the backstory and it filled in all the gaps. And that's what Dave does. So that's what he's going to do for the sequels. He's going to make them make more sense. So I think that's what we're going to get.
Nick, go ahead.
I'm with you, Adam. I think it's steering into the skid, right? And it's like, okay, here's what we made. Now we steer right into it. And this is where I feel like I would love to see more. Like, I know we just got all these shows announced. I would have hoped that there would have been a little bit more that would help support those to kind of do exactly what you're talking about, right? Like, Dave Filoni is such a purist Star Wars guy. He's not going to go, hey, that thing that we created, let's just forget that part of Star Wars didn't happen. If anything, he's looking at that and going, no, we're going to go right after it. And we're going to create stories and characters and places that are going to help tell that story, and add more fruit and life to it. And I even think of like some of the stuff that came out leading up to Force Awakens and even Last Jedi, like the Phasma book that came out was phenomenal. Like, really good for a character that has such little screen time and was so overhyped. Like, that to me, when I watched The Last Jedi now, I'm like, yeah, I still don't really understand why you're the way you are in this movie, but I know that I like this character because of the supplemental stuff that came through it. And I just wish we had more of that. So I feel the same way.
Don't tell Brent that. Don't tell Brent that you like Phasma because of the book.
Why?
Because
he's a visual guy.
He's a visual guy. He'll say that's.
Well, someday, he'll come over to the dark side fully and he'll start reading books. And he's an educator. How does he, man? Okay, different.
It's not going to happen.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've been going on here for a little while, and it's a good long show. What I'd like to do is just tie things up, a nice little ribbon. I'll go around the room. Any closing thoughts, any closing ideas? Mass, I'm going to start with you. Again, it was so good to have you back this week and to give your insight and your opinions on things. We miss it. We like your little spark you bring to the show. So what are some things, moving forward? We might sneak you away and have you go to the Great Ohio Toy Show with us. Come on, say yes. You want to do it. What else? Any closing thoughts on Star Wars tonight?
Well, I have a closing thought, but it's not about Star Wars.
That's okay.
So you mentioned Wilford Brimley earlier.
Yes.
All like the whole show, all that keeps ringing in my head is my grandfather before he passed away. We were out to dinner and the waitress told him he looked like Wilford Brimley and it really pissed him off. Like, he was so mad.
God, I miss Newell. Newell was one.
No, it wasn't Newell. It was my dad's dad.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. It was Robert Leonard.
I never met your dad's dad.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, he was so mad.
But well, if that brought back good memories for you, man, that's all I can ask. So, Alfie, you hopped in late. I'm so glad you did, because last show that we had the great and powerful Adam Bray on, you had to bounce out after 5 minutes. Any closing thoughts, any ideas, anything you want to bring to the table before we check out?
I'm glad I was able to get on, and it was for the same reason as last time, but she's luckily stayed asleep the whole show, so
Good.
I was happy to be here. Man, I'm really looking forward to the toy show this Saturday. I'm hoping to find some good stuff.
Me too. I can't
Yeah.
wait. We're gonna film and be like idiots. So if anybody sees us, just don't worry. We won't. We'll blur out your face if we
Yeah.
have to.
We're
So,
all about Ray right now, so I got to find some good Ray stuff.
okay. Okay. That sounds good. That sounds like a plan. My man Nick, my new show host every other week or so or whatever. Any more closing thoughts before we break camp?
No closing thoughts other than Adam, nice to meet you. Glad to finally put a name to a face and get to see it. And Joe, thank you again for piloting us on a wonderful show.
You know what? If I can just be the engineer and you guys I'll just steer, you guys go. All less of me, more of you. I like more of you guys. But thank you, Nick. Adam, I know that people can come and buy their books from you. They can get things signed by you, all that kind of stuff. One, closing thoughts, and two, remind everybody where they can track you down and buy some of your great. Oh, Mass, before I get to Adam, go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure that Adam gave us the person's link
yes.
or whatever with the who did the art. It was really good stuff.
Yeah, let me see if I can let me find her on Twitter. I think that's the best place to find her.
Yeah, I'll tag her in the show notes.
Yeah, it is. If it will come up. Almost there. I think I know it, but I don't. I just want to make sure I get it right.
Well, sure. And while you're looking there, feel free to throw out websites and people where they can track you down, because if anybody's not buying some great Marvel or Star Wars reference books from Adam, you're missing the boat, because he'll personalize them and send a nice note to you as well.
Sure. Well, let me, Xenia's Twitter handle, it's Lorna Kaw, LORNA_KA. And
Okay.
that's a Twitter. It's Xenia Zelentsova. She's a Russian artist, especially Star Wars, but she does
Okay.
some sort of anime influence stuff and some other things. So check her out.
We will do that.
But yes, my books are available. I've got Star Wars books, Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, Ultimate Star Wars, a bunch of other stuff. Marvel's really hot now. I've got all of DK's Marvel Studios books I have written myself, and the Marvel Encyclopedia. So with WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's a lot of background information in those books. Just happens like in the previous episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, the first guy that Sam Wilson fights on the airplane, he doesn't get named in the episode, but we've seen him before. That is Batroc the Leaper. He was in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. He's the same guy that Steve fights on the battleship at the beginning of the movie. So it's kind of funny that at the beginning of both things. Yeah, same guy.
See, Adam
Like
knows that.
same character or same actor?
Both, yeah, same actor, same character.
I did not know that.
I think it's George Batroc or something like that. But he's got a full page feature in my Marvel Studios character encyclopedia because he's already in the movie. So there's stuff like that, great goodies and Easter eggs and things in all my books. So people can order them directly from me, and they can get them signed and get other swag. And it's the only way I really benefit from book purchases. So send your orders in.
You got it. And that's at author Adam Bray, correct? They
Yep.
can reach out to you on
Yes.
Twitter that way.
Right. I'm on Twitter, on Facebook and Instagram, and now YouTube.
YouTube, yes. Which I really enjoyed your YouTube where you talked or your message the other day on either Twitter or YouTube. I watch way too much stuff where you were walking with someone, but you had to pee, so you had to run off somewhere where they couldn't see you. That was lovely.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So guys, thank you, Adam. Thank you for being a guest. We really appreciate it. And like I said, we need to get you and some of the other podcasters throughout the Midwest together with your books and with our listeners somewhere here in the Midwest soon and do something where we get together and talk Star Wars and sell some of your books and everything like that. So we'll plan on that. We'll work on that for when it gets to be spring and summer. Mass, go ahead.
Nick, did I actually just see your mind blow when
I did. Adam,
the top came
I need a weekly Zoom call with you following the release of the newest Marvel anything, because I love Marvel. It's one of my I geek out about it. But that's amazing.
We'll start a podcast just on that next round. Alfie, hey, this is waiting for you. When I meet up with you, this will be waiting for you. So I know you're excited about that. But you know what? Episode 69 of Rule the Galaxy is in the books. Thank you all for listening. As you know, we've got a couple shows backlog right now. My good son, Joey, he's a great young man, but his silly dog destroyed his computer. And so they're sitting and waiting on his computer to be put together and edited and sent out. So we have some shows still coming, but Joey is a good man and he does good things for all of us. And I need to get him back on the show sometime soon. But to you guys, thank you for always being here. Brent, I know you're with us in your thoughts. Actually, Brent might be, I think he's going to Galaxy's Edge this Friday or Saturday. So he'll be sending us updates from that. But for everybody who's listening, follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter. Email us at rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com. Check us out on YouTube. We'll have Mr. Adam Bray on an upcoming episode. You can watch this. And you know what? Until next time, may the Force be with you.